This week on the Steam Machine podcast, so a man walks into a costume party, butt naked, got a girl on his back. They say, sir, you're naked. He says, no, I'm wearing a costume. Well, what are you supposed to be? I'm a turtle. Well, then who is she? Her? Oh, she's Michelle. Cue the music! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me this week is one half of the Destructo Bros.
Hello, it's Willie. How are you doing this fine week?
I am doing well, my good sir. I'm quite tired. I've been doing a lot of yard things the past couple of weeks, and my muscles are definitely letting me know that I am no longer 20.
I was asking the audience. I don't care how you're
Fair.
doing.
That's fair.
But how are you doing in terms of that? You get some rest?
Yeah, I've been getting some rest. Tomorrow I have...
Stay hydrated, my man. I'm finding that is like one of the hugest factors you never even realize until it's too far off.
Oh yeah, I mean, even just for doing this podcast, I have bottle of water, tea, and a half drink Coke. So
I have half of this Coke left, and I have an emergency water over here if the Coke runs out.
Yeah, I try to stay hydrated so I don't get dry mouth while we're doing the episode. I'm like, nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy that always, if I can, likes to bring like a water bottle to job interviews and stuff, just because, hey, get a sip, your mouth gets dry. It also gives you a good pause moment, You know? I'm not too worried about pauses on the podcast, though, because we have delete silence or Trunkabunka.
Trunkabunka boonbaga.
Isn't that what the... I was about to say, isn't that what the guy from fucking Fresh Bandicoot says? No way!
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe we both went there.
But tomorrow, I am going to Target in Gainesville. Inside of Target in Gainesville, there is a place called Famous Eyes. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get some new spectacles because I don't know if you can tell, but these are chewed to shit from when Lilith was a little puppy, and they are scratched to hell and back. So I don't really remember what it's like to see clearly.
Yep. I definitely had a pair of glasses I ruined by Windexing them when I couldn't find a normal spray, and it messed up the coating. So I'm kind of familiar with the going around with constantly cruddy glasses for a while.
The shitty part was, like, seriously, like a week or two after I got these, I used to sleep with my glasses. I would put them on the windowsill, and they fell off the windowsill during one night and went between my bed and the wall, frames toward the wall. So when I woke up the next day, right here in the center on both of them were just scratched up. So like literally where I look out of is scratched to shit. And then it didn't get any better when Lilith chewed on them. So yeah. So that'll be I'll get that done tomorrow, and then I don't know when they'll come in, but here soon I'll be able to see better. So that'll be nice.
I'm sorry to hear that, because that means when we're recording the podcast and you have my webcam, you'll be able to look at my horrible visage.
I get to see your cool ass mustache better.
It is looking pretty cool today, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, man. But yeah,
I'm pretty happy with it.
Doing the yard work and stuff's been hell. I do want to tell you this, because your boy's dumb. So I live in the woods. Or I live near the woods. I got woods next to me. You guys have seen it. If you're in the Discord, you've seen pictures of it and stuff. When I'm working over there and clearing it out and things, got some what they call down here chiggers in my socks. So they bit up all around my ankles and the tops of my feet. So one night I'm in here and it starts itching real bad on the top of my foot. So my guitar amp is down here, and I just started rubbing the top of my foot against the side of my amp with my sock, and it was scratching it, and it just felt so good, and I kept doing that. And I ended up I had like a wound on the top of my foot where I just sandpapered skin away doing that. So your boy's dumb, so that's healing now, and I've been treating it in ointment, and it's about healed now, but yeah, the itching, it wasn't worth it.
I'm always sympathetic towards an itchy story, because I have psoriasis, so I've got some spots on my skin that are always dry and itchy, and it sucks.
Yeah, I don't know if... So when I was younger, mosquitoes used to just there could be 15 people around, and they would eat the shit out of me. I think it's because I was fat.
That's facts. That's facts, though. They have scientific studies that show that mosquitoes do have a preference, And like they do go after specific people. Like I don't remember, they said some of the genetic things. Like I think they said blondes are more likely to be targeted, for instance. It's something
I did have blonder hair when I was younger. It's definitely not anymore. But and I'm also like fat and sugary. They're probably like, that fat fuck's got diabetes. Let's go get his blood. So like they
get that Kool-Aid
they come
blood
after me. But like my mom had grabbed some cortisone stuff because I told her, I was like, dude, will you just give me some anti-itching cream, please? And she came home with cortisone or whatever it was, and I rubbed that on there, and it helped like a minute amount. I'm like, dude. So I had a miserable few days, but I'm all right now. How have you been doing, my good sir?
Oh man, I've been up to a lot lately, actually. Let's see. We're not even up to the what have you been playing lately section.
Not yet, but...
let's see. So personal life. I finished the secret project that I mentioned on the show a few times. Posted on the Discord. So what it was I was learning Nintendo Entertainment System assembly language. So assembly language for the 6502 processor. Specifically the 2A03 that they use in the NES, which doesn't have the entire 6502 instruction set. Like it doesn't allow decimal mode, which... Okay, whatever. Because I've never used it before, I don't miss it, you know? Fair. But so I made a little program for the podcast. It's just it's kind of like a screensaver. It just displays a little message. It has a little logo for a little TSMP logo I drew in a sprite that just kind of bounces around the screen and changes colors when it hits the corner and all that. You can download it on the Discord if you go to the Steam Machine podcast chat notifications. I guess we could try to upload it somewhere, but I don't really know where we'd want to put it, so it's probably fine just in the Discord.
I want you to see if you can transpose that code into an active wallpaper and then upload it to the Steam Workshop so I can download it as a active wallpaper for my wallpaper engine.
I don't know how to use Wallpaper Engine. I'd have to look into that. Because
it's super cool, and I would love to just have that as my wallpaper on my computer with just a little TSMP thing bouncing around. That would be super cool.
It was fun to make. Like, solving assembly language problems is so different too, because like a lot of it too is you have to know kind of where to poke the memory to put stuff, because a lot of it isn't, you don't tell it draw a circle or whatever. You have to like copy stuff from memory into the part of the CPU that addresses the PPU, and then that copies it over and all of that. So you have to know like all these specific locations and all that. But then with the assembly, you can use like data statements, so at least you can list everything out instead of having to, you can label stuff instead of having to know the exact number where everything is. So it's kind of interesting because like even the way you do basic loops and flow control, I'm so used to, if-then statements and for loops and all that. And with assembly, a lot of it's doing like checking a register and then breaking to a different line if it's not equal and otherwise continuing down the thing. And it took me forever to realize, oh yeah, you can basically just constitute a for loop or a basic if-else statement using that. You just had to know where to put the labels.
Okay. It's all a bit beyond me, but I'm trying to keep up.
Well, I think one of the most interesting things about doing the NES too is the NES is an 8-bit system. You can only access 8 bits of information at a time, and like the registers only go up to 255. So if you wanted to do a loop that loops more than 255 times, you actually have to put a loop inside of a loop and kind of, what I mean? Like feed it up, like this one counts from 0 to 255, and then the next one increments by 1, and then you go back to 0 on the next one and keep going and all that. And so I had to, do that to like copy background information to the PPU and stuff.
You know what I want to do? I want to, one night before I'm going to sleep, open it up in RetroArch and have it on my screen, and then use OBS and record it and go to sleep and then wake up and then have that and then upload that to YouTube and then just have it be there. So like if you were like doing something and like say if somebody was doing a video, like one of us was doing a video for something, on the screen in the background while you're talking could just be that running.
Oh yeah.
For people who don't have that, or me, I could just emulate it and just have it in the background running that. Like I was thinking too, like have me a little 4x3 screen off to the side that is only, I'll just pull RetroArch over there and just emulate, and that would just be that playing all the time. It would just be that little thing on the screen. It would be sweet, like an active,
just a little fun widget.
Yeah, exactly.
I plan like if I make more of these, like, because it says on their Steam Machine spring 2025, for instance. So I might make like a seasonal one, and they might get more complicated over time. Because right now, all this one really does is shows kind of like a sky and grass and I didn't even really do any details in it.
Nah, but it was still super cool.
But, I mean, it was just really cool to see that, like, the thing that I think is cool is it doesn't use any advanced mappers or anything. It will run on an actual Nintendo if you have, like, a flash card.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
It would be so neat to see my own code running on a Nintendo. If you showed me that when I was a little kid, it would have blown my mind.
For sure.
Like, even if it isn't a full game. But I do know how to do at least controller input reading and stuff like that. I don't know how to do sound yet. I'm going to have to learn that.
You're welcome to take any of my shit and run it through a MIDI.
I'll see if I could figure out some kind of way to sequence it. But
do it.
I did have an idea that had something to do with that.
8-bit Psycho Manus. I don't even know what that would sound like.
I was thinking something like that. I don't know. You sound like you were doing Sandstorm there.
It might have been a little inspiration.
Let's see. So there's the NES thing. There was something else that was cool that I don't immediately remember. I got a part-time job, so at least I should. I'm awaiting the results of a background check, but that should be trivial. So, yeah. It ain't much. It ain't a lot to talk about, but it'll keep me busy and get me paid. And, then I'll be able to use my spare time to do other stuff. And hopefully having a bit more of a schedule will make me more productive, because I find I often am,
Yeah, I can relate to that.
But I've been hella productive for the last, when I got back from Nashville, when I got back from Middle Tennessee doing the house sitting for Nate, I had a few days where I was just kind of laying in bed because I had my sleep schedule messed up and I had a stomach issue that was bothering me for a little bit. But after that, since I got back, recovered on the waking up at a normal time, I've been hella productive, man, finishing that Nintendo assembly language thing. I'm thinking I might start a new Godot or Pico 8 project. I'm also considering doing another Nintendo assembly language thing while it's still fresh in my mind. But I only have one idea for what I want to do, and it's not the best idea.
Is it a Godot game called Gal?
We need to have a theme song sting every time you do that freaking dude.
Play me out, Charlie.
Just a big old hook comes and drags you off the stage.
Now that would be funny if we did this live on Twitch and we had an animation that would come in and make it look like it looped around my camera and then just slid it off screen. That would be good.
You got gonged. Sorry, dude.
So many ideas, and I have zero idea how to implement any of them. But
yeah, well, it just depends. Just depends on everything. But so I did have another thing, but I think it ties into the what game you play in thing. That relates to you and me discussing some stuff off camera too. So I think we'll just wait till we get into the what you've been playing segment.
I mean, we can roll into that. I haven't really been doing much else, so just yard work.
So yard work. I've had weeks where I've done less than yard work.
That's been my productivity, is making myself motivate and go outside and get some stuff done, because it is already ungodly hot. It's supposed to be 96 for 2 days next week or something like that. Oh my lord. Yeah, bud.
And that's Florida 96 too, so that's with all that humidity too.
Yeah, and it ain't even summer. So this is going to be brutal. It's going to be there's going to be a lot of playing with Lilith inside because it's too fucking hot for her little furry ass. She likes...
Can I be honest? One of the things is, one of the reasons I managed to get the game or the NES program done this week was because you said it ain't even summer. And I'm like, it's going to be close enough to summer soon that I don't want to put out something that says spring on it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Lilith's got this thing that she does, I assume because it's so fucking hot outside, is that during the day she'll go outside and she'll kind of run around a little bit and she'll play a little bit, and then she'll come inside and she'll lay down and she'll have a nap, and then she'll get up and she'll do some stuff and she'll have a nap. And then when it's dark outside, once the sun's down, that bitch wants to go outside and play. Run till the cows come home because it's no longer that hot, because she's a furry little thing.
What breed is she?
Australian Shepherd.
Australian. I was going to say that's a very active dog, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's a herding dog, so it must be.
She has the energy of 10 of me.
Also, is an Australian Shepherd? Isn't that what Bluey is?
I think he's an Australian cattle dog. And as weird as it is, there is a slight difference because cattle dogs are short-haired.
There's a difference between a cattle and a sheep, yes.
Oh, fuck, yeah, you're right. Now that I'm thinking... but I was thinking herding dogs, but that's...
Yeah.
The shepherd's the long-haired one, and the cattle dog is short-haired.
Okay, that
but
makes
very
sense.
similar. Very similar looking, just, different coats.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Lilith, the type of dog she is she's double coated. So she's got the...
Oh.
So you don't want to shave them because it can fuck that up. So I'm like, baby girl, you want to play at nighttime? That's fine. Let's play at night.
I've definitely I've heard about that for certain breeds of dogs, and I can't remember who, but I know someone told me the exact same thing about their dog. It was double coated, so they couldn't really cut the hair super short.
Yeah, the
risking...
only area on her that I trim up is around her butt, because that can get a little messy sometimes.
Yeah,
so, yeah, you got to trim the fur around there a little bit. I call it her little shorts, because she's got so much fur on the back of her legs, and then the bottom of her legs don't, that she looks like she's wearing John Cena shorts.
Great.
It's adorable. And then when I mentioned that,
she's a cute dog. She's a very photogenic dog.
That dog is always smiling, dude. And when I mentioned to Brandy, who's my vet friend, who's that I call it her shorts, she said, well, they call them their pants in like vet offices and stuff. I was like, well, I wasn't far off then.
You're a secret scientist.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not a secret scientist, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
I did stay at a secret Holiday Inn Express last night.
The secret scientist Holiday Inn Express. It's got a Starbucks and it's underground.
That Starbucks ain't underground, man. Starbucks is mainstream.
No, there's a quote unquote conspiracy theory that there is underground tunnels under Hollywood and LA that only the elite can use, and that there is a Starbucks down there that if you work at that Starbucks, you are sworn to secrecy and are not allowed to tell people that you work there. And I'm like, bruh.
That's weird, because there are like kind of real things that are similar enough to that. Like, basically that's like, was it Club 23 under Disney World? That actually exists.
Yeah.
I probably got the number wrong, but
yeah, the secret club place. It was like I know that Disney had there's like a restaurant.
Yeah, it's like a secret restaurant
hidden.
underground. Or
it's
whatever.
Straight up hidden. It's in Cinderella's castle.
Oh, what?
At least in Orlando, that's where the restaurant's at. It is in you think that big castle.
Whenever I'm talking about Disney, I'm talking about Orlando, because I know absolutely nothing about the California.
Fair enough. It is the superior of the two.
It's the bigger of the two for sure. Like by a crazy margin. Like the Disneyland one is like one block or whatever. Yeah. Disney World is like one swamp.
Yeah, Disney World is absolutely massive, and there's like 4 parks. But yeah, if I ever get back, man, I gotta have just a messy day of just spending all day at Epcot in the international food area. You are goddamn right. As an adult, that's one of the most excited things I am about getting to go back to Disney at some point, is going to Epcot, that I did not appreciate as a child, other than the Norway ride, which was awesome, which I think is now a Frozen ride.
Yeah. Well, as a child, all I really cared about was the big rides. I wanted to see Space Mountain. I wanted to see Splash Mountain. I wanted to see Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. I wanted to see It's a Small World.
Now I'm like, dude, I want a churro, and I want to walk around and look at cool shit, and I want to ride the rides that my big ass can still fit on. Because I learned going to Busch Gardens that not only am I relatively too fat for some rides, but I'm also too tall. Like, there were some rides that legitimately the thing came down and I would suck in and it would just barely hook, but it's because I had to lower my shoulders. And I'm like, okay, this is not comfortable, but Megan wants to ride this, so let's ride. So I rode it anyway because I was a soldier, and then she dumped me.
Hey.
After that trip. That's a whole other story, though. But yeah, man, we ought to TSMP meetup. We'll go to Disney World. It's the most expensive meetup ever. Shit's so expensive.
Yeah, right. Let's have a TSMP meetup at Atlantis.
I was talking to my dad about that the other day. I said, I would love to go and do something. I said, centrally, it would be best to probably meet somewhere near Nate and Willie, somewhere around in there. I said, because I could drive up and I could pick up Dane on the way through. And hell, I think if Fenris wanted to come, he's in Alabama. I could make my way to Alabama, then over to North Carolina. That would be a hell of a drive, but it would be a trip. It would be a trip, it's something to remember. And have everybody come meet up for like a long weekend at like an Airbnb. You got to make sure we can get somewhere we can cook, though.
Yeah. Because there's no way I'm having you over if you're not cooking.
Do some cooking, do some gaming. I think that'd be fun. Hook up Clone Hero. Have everybody drinking and smoking and playing Clone Hero. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a blast,
It would be super fun, man. So one day we'll do that. Maybe we'll set up like a pool if people want to chip in.
Okay.
Or something.
For a moment when you said set up a pool, I thought you meant we're gonna go swimming.
Oh no, I meant like a pool to chip in for the trip. So like people who are less financially inclined than others could possibly still come if there was enough, yada yada, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, we'll figure it out.
When I start my new job, I'm gonna start saving some up so I have something, just for emergencies. So.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at when I can find something around here. But yeah, man, what you been playing?
I've been playing a lot of things lately, but because Doom the Dark Ages is coming out, I've definitely been in a big first person shooter kick lately.
I have seen that.
So yeah, I mentioned the game on the Patreon segment, but Been playing a lot of Dusk, the kind of boomer shooter about David Zemansky and New Blood Interactive. Kind of Quake-like with blood influences. And yeah, so I'd never finished Dusk HD after it came out. Like, I got to E2M4, I think, and then that big fight at the beginning, because that level starts with this big fight at the beginning of the level that's outdoors, and then there's like one room at the very end that can also kill you. And what would happen is I would load up the game, play that level, die a couple times on the opening fight, make it to the end of the level, die on the end fight with like 2 dudes left in the level, and just be like, oh, I'll come back to it later. And then didn't come back to it later for a while. So ended up finishing from that point all the way through the end of the game on I Can Take It difficulty. And then after I finished that, I had such a great time that I immediately started again on Cero Miedo difficulty with intruder mode on. So you don't start off with any weapons. Every level you just dump back to the 2 scythes.
Cero Miedo. I like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed Dusk. I don't think I've gone back to it since the HD version popped out, but when we played it for the show, that was a fun romp.
Yeah, the HD version's pretty cool because I feel like it's kind of like how the Night Dive remaster of Quake is, where it's like it's not gonna completely change the entire vibe of it, but it does make things a little bit clearer while still keeping the original aesthetics mostly intact. But like now, the cigar isn't just 12 polygons, for instance; it's kind of round.
Fair.
And then also when I was playing Dusk, I played the moddable version of it, which has been out for a while, and I just keep forgetting to mess with it. So like, for instance, obviously one of the first mods that came out for it was someone recreated E1M1 of Doom in it. And I've got to say, out of every E1M1 Doom recreation I've ever played in a different engine, this has got to be the first one where it doesn't feel like it's either too huge or you're too slow and it takes 2 weeks to cross the map. Like, Dusk Dude actually plays through it at a pretty reasonable scale.
Yeah, I remember you being able to run pretty quickly in Dusk.
Yeah, you can run pretty quickly, and if you do strafe jump hops, then it's like Quake, and you can keep bunny hopping and you gain speed with every jump.
I wonder if...
Which, that's not a necessary technique on I Can Take It difficulty, but on Cero Miedo, you definitely want to know that.
I wonder if anyone has ever created a mod for, like, Skyrim or Oblivion that was a cave system, but it was laid out like E1M1. Because I know in Starfield, I got a DLC or mod, but it's also like on the official mod store, but it was free. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but that is Doom based, and I haven't played it yet. But because it's not often I have a hankering to play Starfield, but every now and then I do.
Yeah. It just feels like if you wanted to play Starfield, you could also play No Man's Sky, or you could play a different Bethesda RPG first-person game.
Well, usually when I'm in the mood to play Starfield, it's like I want to play something like No Man's Sky with a bit better shooting. So, because the gunplay in Starfield's pretty good. I'll give it that. It's just like everything else is kind of shallow, unfortunately. But
that makes sense.
I feel like there is potential there, like mods and stuff. There is potential for that game to be really cool.
Yeah, the modding scene, like, apparently they gave up on it, like, instantly when it came out, because everyone started modding, and they're like, I don't see any way where we're going to make a good game out of this. So even though it's been patched a bunch by now, I think they lost that initial momentum.
It definitely didn't have the staying power of the Elder Scrolls or Fallout, for sure.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure with Oblivion, people are just chomping at the bit for them to release modding tools for the remaster so that they can start making ridiculous stuff.
You would be correct, my good sir, because there are already, 1,000 mods for it. And there aren't official mod support yet, or there isn't official mod support.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild, man. So I've also seen you jumping into Doom 1 and 2 on Steam.
Yeah, so a while back in the Discord, I had this like thing I posted. It was like a spreadsheet from. I made a spreadsheet based on a thread on the Doom World forums. It's basically like a get good at Doom, play these levels in this order thing. And then I started playing just the very beginning of it and never finished playing through all of Doom 1, basically, because I wanted to start off playing with Ultraviolence difficulty, which is the highest of the normal difficulties, not counting Nightmare mode, which on Doom 1 and 2 is basically a joke difficulty where the monsters are like 3 times as fast. They respawn when you kill them. But I am playing with Ultraviolence with fast monsters, so it still has the speedier monsters. And that is really troubling because the monster that affects the most is the Pinky Demon, and the placements of Pinky Demons on Doom 1 especially do not seem to have taken Ultraviolence, Fast, or Nightmare into account. So there are a lot of levels where there's just like, I can't, unless you actually play it, it's hard for me to explain how much faster the Pinkies are. But like, go into Doom 1 and 2 if you have it. Go to level, let's say, E3 M4. Open that level up and play it. Just play through the first room on Ultraviolence, and then go back to the level select, and under options, turn on fast monsters and do it again. The first Pinky in the Move room immediately runs up to you and is at your face before you can even have fully moved, like, more than a step or two. And they run faster than you. They're incredibly... they attack so quickly that you can't stunlock them with a chainsaw, so you have to actually keep a distance or, bait them into attacking and move back really fast. Actually, that's one of the most fun things about playing Pistol Start Ultraviolence fast, is like level E2 M6 Halls of the Damned. I only got back into that level pretty recently, and my god, there's so many Peaky Demons moving at super speed, but the level also gives you a Berserk pack up front. So you don't get a lot of ammo in that level. If you're pistol starting that level, you get not enough ammo to deal with everything in the level. So the best way I found to deal with it is to learn how to just get the Berserk pack and punch out as many of the Pinky Demons as you can, which makes it great practice for timing those attacks. And since the way I've been doing this... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm just thinking about this, and I just suck at regular older Dooms, so I can't imagine, like, faster enemies or making things harder on myself, because I struggle enough as it is. That's all.
Yeah, I think for you, the best way to do it would just be to go through and play the first game just normal Ultraviolence difficulty without pistol starting. Just do Ultraviolence, but carry over your stuff between levels and save at the beginning of each level.
Yeah, that sounds.
So that way, if you die, you can load your save. Yeah, because that way it'll still be a little bit more challenging than playing Hurt Me Plenty was, like you did for the show. But you should still be learning a little bit more about how to deal with the monsters. And honestly, if I remember watching you and Nate play, on the earlier levels of Doom 2 at least, you were not really getting beaten by the monsters. You were getting beaten by not knowing the level progression and just struggling to figure out how to move forward.
Where the fuck do I go?
And that's not going to change based on difficulty. Well, there are some levels that are not as designed well as others. I feel like American McGee's levels in Doom 2, which are most of the early levels, have difficult to read progression. Like the Gauntlet. There's that thing where you had to hit the switch and then walk up the railings next to the stairways. And it took forever, I think, for you guys to realize that railing had become a bridge, basically.
Yeah, that's the exact moment I'm thinking of in my head.
Yeah, it's very poor progression. I think that's one of the worst design levels.
Well, how did that motherfucker go from that to the Alice games, which rule?
I mean, I guess he learned something on working on those,
So. And also, just the name American McGee is so badass.
It's the wildest thing is that is his birth certificate name. That is not like a nickname or anything like that. His parents named his ass American.
It'd be really funny if
America.
He was like, like European and his name's American.
Oh, like when you run into someone who's from Spain and her name is Francois?
Yeah. It's like, oh, your name's France. Cool. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Francis.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I should have said if you're an American named Francis, because that's a much more normal... Screw me, I'm an idiot. But so I was playing through those. I'm up to level E3 M4, and I'm going to say the name of the level, and then I'm going to have to figure out how to get you back on track. But the level I'm on, E3 M4, House of Pain, is... Nope,
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I'm genuinely shocked.
I'm not going to do it because I came to get down. So jump around.
So it's one of those levels that starts off with a Pinky Demon looking directly at you, blocking a really narrow hallway. You can't really get any weaponry unless you run into one of the side rooms. The side rooms are completely full of stuff. The last time I've started playing through all of Doom 1 on Ultraviolence with Fast Monsters and Pistol Starts, this is the level I gave up on. And I probably will again here and just keep on going with regular Ultraviolence from here on throughout the rest of the spreadsheet. But it's been really fun training. And I noticed I was playing some other WADs and just being that agile against Pinkies, because I'm used to them going super speed, has made it a lot easier for me to deal with them in crowds in other WADs. So I played through the WAD Overboard recently. It's by Syriac Harris, who you may know as that guy on YouTube that does the freaky animations with like the cows that fractalize themselves and stuff.
I don't know if I've seen that. When I think of weird YouTube animations these days, I think of Papa Meat and his weird drawing style that he does.
Yeah, that dude has some weird aesthetics, man. I think his horrible little oven will always stick with me.
Yes, that oven is hilarious.
Yeah, Syriac is best known. Like he's an animator that also does music and stuff. There's like kind of this twisted, demented clown music vibe to his music, and the videos are like kind of pulsating and like kind of like a Photoshop that animates and like like a cow that fractals out into having more legs, and the legs grow arms, and the arms grow heads and stuff, that kind of thing. It's hard to explain unless you see it. Once you've seen it, you're like, okay, I know what you're talking about. And anyway, a while back you made this award-winning Doom WOD called Going Down. I think I've talked about it on the show before. It's the one where you take an elevator to the top of the UAC building and then go down, and it keeps going down further past the bottom until there are crazier and crazier areas. Yeah, exactly. It's Doom. You know you're going to end up in hell. I'm not really spoiling anything. But so Overboard, on the other hand, it's Doom the Beach episode. It is 6 levels of basically, you start off on a cruise ship, in a cabin of a cruise ship. You got to kind of fight your way out and get to an escape boat. And then every level from then, you take the escape boat onto like an island or to a submarine or something. You got to find a can of gas there and then bring it back to the sub. And
man, that reminds me of the OG Far Cry.
Sure.
You get attacked on a boat, and then you have to jump off, you have to swim to shore, and then you're having to handle island stuff. So that's kind of cool that they did that for Doom. That's interesting.
Yeah, because the Doom, even though episode 2 of Doom is called The Shores of Hell, there aren't like a lot of beachy textures built into Doom. And in fact, before this came out, like right before this came out, I was ideating with some people about, if I wanted to make some Doom levels, what would I do? And my first best idea was Doom the Beach episode. I'm like, I could draw some sand textures and make some little like umbrellas and stuff like that. And then Moldy comes out with this WOD that is like exactly what I was envisioning, but way better than I could have done it. And it's just amazing. Like even the levels have like cute nicknames. Like the level 2 is called Skeleton Coast, and as you can guess, that means there's a whole bunch of bony boys on that level. Level 4 is a volcano full of cacodemons called Kakatoa.
That screenshot that you sent made me laugh.
Yeah, it's just it's done. It's really funny the way he does it too, because like Moldy has a huge sense of humor in his mapping, and so the moment you pick up that rocket launcher, all of these cacodemons just rise up out of the lava, like slowly, like they're the lava itself, and it's just a really funny visual.
Do you know how cacodemons are made? With
no.
caco semen.
Oh, that took me a moment. But yeah, so it's only 6 levels long. I played it on Hurt Me Plenty continuous, so without pistol starting each level. And I was like, wow, the stuff I learned just from really speeding around a bunch of Pinky Demons has actually made me better at this game. And I think last week I also mentioned an episode I was playing called Junk Food 4 that had a lot of like slaughter maps with like infinite weaponry and stuff. That was really fun too. Still playing some of that. I beat a level called A Billion Draculas in that. That was a fun one.
That's an interesting name.
You know what the funniest thing about A Billion Draculas is? Out of all the levels I've played up to that point, it actually had like the 3rd fewest monsters. It only had 800 compared to some that have 10,000.
That's a bit much. 10,000 enemies? That's a lot.
Well, they kind of end up killing each other. Like, it's a slaughter map, so you kind of weave into a way that causes enemies to infight, and they'll end up blasting each other.
I gotcha. Makes me think of Serious Sam. You just get waves of enemies coming at you.
When I first we talked about Serious Sam on the episode, the one thing I kept comparing it to was Doom slaughter maps. And yes, it's exactly that. It's crowds of enemies that you have to learn how to shape the crowd itself in addition to fighting. Like, it's equal parts managing crowds as actually putting out your own offense.
I love that in all of the Serious Sam games, they have like kept up that joke of killing the bomb guy. And Sam going, yourself. And then just a massive wave of them coming at you. Like
running over the hill of the mountain. Yeah. Like Ride of the Valkyries ought to be playing in the background.
I think they've done that in every Serious Sam mainline game, and I love it.
Yeah. It's a good goof. Oh, speaking of, I think I might have mentioned it, but they totally use there's a kamikaze monster in Junk Food 4, and it absolutely uses the Serious Sam screaming noise.
I love it. Tremendous. Yeah. That's such a great yell.
It's perfect. It is really perfect. So, I guess in conclusion to where we're going with the first-person shooters, a lot of this was in anticipation of the fact that Doom the Dark Ages, the 6th game in the mainline Doom series, well, and I guess if you call it the numbered series, because otherwise you could argue it's like the 8th or 9th game, because you could say Final Doom and Doom 64, and who cares? I called Doom 2016 Doom 4, so that makes this Doom 6 by my reckoning.
I would agree with that.
It was coming out this week, and it was available on Game Pass, so I'm like, hey, I'll buy myself a month of Game Pass, because worst comes to worst, it's got like Balatro and shit. I can play some Balatro. That'd be fun. And pre-downloaded it and opened it up when the launch came, and You need to have a graphics card that has ray tracing or it won't even open. Not opens and runs badly. Does not open at all. Just straight up refuses to get to the title screen.
Yeah, you sent me a screenshot that basically just said no.
Yeah, it might as well have just been Doom the Dark Ages. It says
they
no.
Say no. Yeah, so to remedy that, I'm going to be sending Willie some stuff. So originally, when we first started doing the podcast, we were playing Dragon Quest XI, and you told me that you were playing it like windowed in some really low resolution, and it was still running choppy.
It was 480p and with percentage upscaling, and I still wasn't getting more than like 18 frames a second.
Yeah, and I was like, oh boy, I have an old graphics card. I'm just going to send this to you. And I did, and it has lasted this long.
It's done an incredible job. It's better than any... Like, I'm so used to using laptops with integrated graphics that having even the lowest end of low-end gaming PCs, like as a desktop, has been such a huge increase for me. But then when you sent me that graphics card, it changed everything. Like, I've never played Rocket League at 60 frames per second before.
Yeah, so it has now come to where that graphics card is now not performing the way it needs to for certain games and stuff. And I have also done another upgrade since then. So I have old parts. And I told you, I said, my only caveat for this is I need you, whenever you have the cash, to send me back the parts that you take out so I can put them into my backup PC, just so I have a backup. Literally, I just needed to be able to record like this in case something was going on. I could still record because I can find other ways to play games, be it on the PlayStation or whatever, until things get figured out. But I boxed it up before we recorded. So you're going to get a box, and inside of that is some paper, and then it's going to look like I'm sending you a guitar pedal. But you're going to open that up, and in there is the RTX 2060 Super wrapped in a towel. And then underneath that, there are 3 baggies. One baggie literally just has one tiny screw in it. That is the screw that when you put the graphics card in, there's a little metal piece that sticks this way, and you can screw it down into your case. If your case doesn't have a spot for that, then I recommend laying your computer on its side so the graphics card doesn't sag, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was doing that for a while, but I figured out some way to keep it up lately. But I used to lay it on its side.
Yeah, so it's got a brace. So if there's a spot that you can brace it out on your computer, cool. If not, you'll figure it out. Then Doom basically told you that your graphics card and your CPU both could fuck off. So I took my CPU out. It's this little square fucker, and I wrapped that in some tissue paper, put that into a baggie, put that in there as well, and then you also have 2 16 gigabyte RAM sticks.
I don't think I have space for 2.
Well, you should check, because I think your when I was looking at your board, I think it said it had 2 slots and it can handle up to 32 gigabytes. So.
Oh, in that case, it might have been all DIMMs, in which case I could just take out both of the 8s that are in there and then put in the 6. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want, like, if the 16s work and everything's fine and everything, you can send me the 2 8s or whatever, or just send me back the one that I had sent you or whatever, just so I can put pieces into this scrap machine that I have now for now. But yeah, so hopefully you can get all that set up, and then you're going to have to use DDU, take off the AMD drivers, put in NVIDIA. I can walk you through that when you get to that point. Setting up.
Well, as long will it just power on normally? I'll just need to do the drivers to make it actually do 3D.
Pretty much, yeah. You're going to need to power it on. Windows will probably install a basic NVIDIA driver, and then I just recommend to quickly run through it. You boot into safe mode, and you run a program called DDU, which is a driver uninstaller. And you would uninstall all the AMD drivers. And then I would recommend as well installing that NVIDIA driver that Windows installs. And then you log back in. But before you uninstall those, you go to NVIDIA's site, you download the most recent driver. And then when you uninstall those and you reboot, it boots in on just your onboard graphics or whatever. And then you run that driver, it installs it, and then it's fine. I would recommend one more reboot after that. But yeah, and then you should be solid to go. Now, placing a CPU, I've never done before. So there might be a little more to it than that, but I don't think so. Because like the video that I watched where the guy was like, this is how you change your CPU. Blop, blop, blop. Add thermal paste. Plop. Done. So it was real simple. And if there's anything that is above me and mine and your pay grade, we always have Dane.
True. Still very grateful for him for fixing the Lightning Storm CMOS issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Me and him were trying to help Kana out with an issue Kana was having on her pre-built that she got.
Oh yeah.
Turns out though,
right.
I think it was just a bad PSU, so they're going to send her a new one.
Yeah.
But yeah. So all of that said, I also bought a month of Game Pass to check out.
So I'm excited to hear about your experience. Give me just one moment to real quick.
While you're doing that, I will talk about. So I've been running into an issue on my PC lately, where, and I've talked about this on multiple episodes, and I've had a lot of conversations with Dane about this, where my certain games that I run, specifically Black Myth Wukong, Cyberpunk 2077, and now Oblivion Remastered, when I try to use very heavy ray trace settings, specifically I think it's path tracing, which was added when the 50 NVIDIA card series came out. I think that's what's causing the issues with the crashing somewhere in the driver, because on Game Pass, I installed the Indiana Jones game, which has ridiculous ray tracing in it, and if I turn on all the path tracing stuff, it crashes. Without it, it doesn't. I installed Avowed, and if I run Avowed with ray tracing on, it crashes. If I run it without ray tracing, it doesn't. But it's a Unreal Engine 5 game, which makes me think that there's some sort of bug in Unreal Engine 5, or there's something with the NVIDIA drivers and Unreal Engine. I don't know what's going on. So I loaded, I'm like, all right, Doom, this game looks ridiculous. So if any game is going to make my fucking computer crash, it's going to be this. And I loaded up Doom, and it runs like a hot knife through butter with everything on fucking max. I think I'm getting like 120 frames a second with the game looking absolutely phenomenal. And kudos to id for their fucking engine being just chef's kiss. It is so optimized, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little sad that my no ray tracing card won't work, but if that's what's required these days, they are so amazingly performant compared to everyone else's engines that I'm still looking forward to.
And here's what blew my mind when I was talking to Dane about it. I'm like, I loaded up ray tracing. There's no choice to turn ray tracing on or off, but obviously it's required because your card won't run it at all because it can't do ray tracing. But I have everything on max, and I told Dane, I said, with DLSS, it is running so fucking smooth. When I loaded in today and went and looked through the settings, I'm not using DLSS. So I'm running it at 4K.
Oh, wow.
And it's running smooth as butter.
That's crazy.
And that tells me my fucking card and my computer is fine. There is something going on with drivers in NVIDIA. Because I have done everything. Brother, when I tell you I spent 2 hours last night running MemTest 86 because it takes an hour per pass for some reason on my computer. Nothing wrong with my RAM. I've checked my GPU running different tests. I bought 3D Mark and benchmarked my computer, and I get fucking pretty decent fucking benchmarks. I will say, I don't remember the name of the program, but it was to test my CPU, and it was underperforming. Cinebench, that's what I used, Cinebench, and it was underperforming. I updated my BIOS, and now it performs like twice as good. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I don't know what's going on. So, that all being said, you want to hear about Doom.
Of course I do.
So I load into it, and immediately, I know Mick Gordon didn't work on this, but the music fucking kicks ass. It makes me happy that I bought my 9-string because I can play those really riffs and stuff in it. I load in. There's a bunch of cutscenes in the beginning, kind of showing you what's going on, and then you see the Doom Slayer, and you get ported down to the level, and you start playing, and oh my God, Willie, when I tell you I've played 2 levels of this and I already like it more than 2016 and Eternal combined.
Damn.
It is so fucking satisfying. So they added you have a melee, like some of the old, Doom 2016 and stuff. You have the E, and you have like 3 melees, but you can gain more with little not power ups, but little pickups. Your shield. So if I start talking about things that you want to find out on your own, stop me. But your shield has this ability where you block with it, and if you're aiming at an enemy, it'll put a reticle on the enemy, and then you can press attack while you're blocking, and you will shoot forward and shield bash the enemy, and that sends out a shockwave. So I've if there are the little dumb zombie guys who are the weakling enemies, and a group of them, you can boom, and it'll just blow them all to bits of gore. On the second level, I found the chain part of the shield. So now it revs like a chainsaw, and I unlocked throwing the shield. So now I can run into a fight, throw the shield, hit an enemy with it, run up, shoot him with the shotgun, get my shield back, hit him with a melee attack, and then they will go purple. And it's like in the older games, when you would do the special kills. I forget what it's called.
Glory
Kills.
yeah.
Thank you. It's basically a glory kill thing, and you either like shield bash him, or you stab him, or you shoot him, or something, and it kills him, and you get a bunch of ammo and things like that. But with the shield, there is also a parry mechanic now. So like,
okay, yeah, this is what I've been most interested in, because parry seems like so different from Doom mechanics so far to date.
So certain enemies will shoot attacks at you, but every now and then one of them will be green. And when it comes at you and it's green, you can block at a certain time with your shield, and it will send that back to the enemy. So, like, there's a certain enemy that like literally turns green and rolls really quickly and flies at you like a cannonball, and you can throw your shield up and block that, and they'll explode. There's an enemy that like shoots a cross energy beam that comes at you green wise, and you can shoot it back at them, and it will cut their arms and legs and head off. Like
hey, cool.
It's so fucking sweet. This game is so goddamn gory. it's so sweet. And like the second level, I'm going through and I'm fighting, and in the background is a giant Titan, and then like the humans in a giant mech looking like almost looks like a Halo Spartan, and out there fighting the Titan and shit. And the first level, this was the first time in a Doom game I've ever stopped and just looked at scenery. Because I'm running up this cliff, and I stop, and there's a vast ocean to the right of me. And I stop, and I look out, and in the horizon, like how the sun will look super big on an ocean sometimes as it's going down, it was just a giant burning pentagram.
Yo!
And it looked so... I didn't get a screenshot of it because I didn't know what you wanted spoiled and what you didn't want spoiled. And because I'm playing on Xbox or Game Pass, I just figured out today how to take screenshots with Game Pass. So... Because I have it mapped to a certain key on my Steam, and it's like anytime I play something that's not Steam, I hit that, and I'm like, damn it, that's not doing what I want it to do.
Yeah, and my computer doesn't like taking screenshots of full screen games for some reason.
It is very fast paced.
That's what I was worried about, because people talked about like it being parrying and there's no dash like there was in Eternal. I was worried that they like slowed things down.
No, absolutely not. All of the mechanics that they added just lead to chaos. Like it is absolute chaos. And there was one other thing I was gonna. What was it? Oh, I've learned.
Yeah, have you gotten to any like of the stuff that was like new in the trailers, like the mech or the dragon or anything?
I have not yet. I've seen the dragon.
I figured they're probably waiting for like the end of Act 1 for something like that.
I ran by an area, and when I looked out to the left, there was a dragon shooting fire at the Titan off in the distance. So
it sounds like there's a lot of huge background.
There's a lot of fucking huge background things going on. Like,
I always thought that the big Titans walking around in like the city level in Doom Eternal was like.
I was gonna say, do you remember the level with the Icon of Sin? That's the vibes that I got off these first two levels. Is like you're going through this city, trying to defend it while these Titans are in the middle of destroying it. But it's not the Icon of Sin. I can only imagine what that motherfucker's going to look like if he shows up.
I was going to say, you've never stopped to look at like a Doom area. And I'm like, I remember you didn't get to Hell when we played Doom 3 for the show. So, because I was going to say, dude, Hell in Doom 3 is really impressive looking.
Yeah, I need to go back and play through Doom 3 and just beat it.
Yeah, I mean, you were having issues with like it making you feel nauseous though. So I can't say that it's necessarily like, I still am not like a full on hater, but I do think that if it gives you any physical symptoms, there's no real reason. It's not. It would be the sixth most important Doom game to play.
It makes me wonder if it didn't bug me when I played it on Xbox because the frame rate was lower and like the resolution was lower and like everything wasn't as crisp. I don't know.
I also feel like, didn't that game have like a really low FOV? Like, is there any way you can tune that?
That might be something too. That might be if there's like a mod or something for an FOV slider for it.
Because I've definitely heard people say that like they get motion sick in games that are like when it's a game that wasn't made for widescreen and they're playing it and it's got the FOV like it's a 4:3 game. Like I know nobody can play Team Fortress 2 without at least upgrading the FOV a little bit because it's like freaking fisheye lens almost on a modern computer.
Yeah, no thank you. No. I don't want that. But no. This new Doom game is deserving of all of the ratings that I've seen come out for it, which have been like 10 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, 5 stars, 4.5 stars. I don't think I've seen anything less than that.
Oh, speaking of weapons, you mentioned the shield and the melee stuff, but like how many guns and stuff do you have at this point?
So far, the first gun that you get is the shotgun.
Yeah, that completely
So
tracks.
you're running around with a shield and a shotgun, and you just feel so fucking badass. Like I can't explain how fucking awesome it feels. But you run with the shotgun for a little bit, and then the next gun you get's the machine gun. So you get that machine gun. And the third gun that I've gotten is the plasma gun.
Oh, wow. That early.
Now, it's because they introduce these enemies to you that have energy shields.
Oh,
and if you shoot the energy shields with the plasma gun, their shield will explode and hurt the enemies around them. There's also shielded enemies that you have to shoot their shield until it starts to glow red, and then you throw your shield at it and it explodes.
All right, so it sounds like they definitely doubled down on each enemy having its own mechanics, which some people didn't like in Doom Eternal, but I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all enemies have their own mechanics, but there are a lot that do have the thing that you have to remember, like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys do this. These guys do this, these guys do that.
Well, I always felt like people overstated it in Doom Eternal too, where they're like, well, you'll never be able to beat this monster if you don't do the exact one thing that makes it trivial. And it's like, then they'll always say something like you can only beat the Kako demons by throwing a grenade at them. And it's like, no, you can beat them with the sticky shotgun. You can beat them with the rocket launcher even easier than either of the grenades. Like, I don't know. I think people just like to bitch.
Ain't that the truth?
But man, I'm looking forward to throwing a chainsaw shield right through a bunch of demons.
Yeah,
catching that shit like Captain America meets Mad Max.
I liked, what are the big fat fuckers called?
Mancubus.
Mancubus? Okay, so yeah, they show up, and I throw one, and I hit it with my shield, and it sticks in its chest, and is just grinding at it, right? And I run up to him, and I hit melee as I get my shield back. So I get my shield back, and I punch him with my right hand, and I literally punched a giant chunk out of his stomach, just and then I held my shield up, and then I bashed him with my shield and shot him with my shotgun, and he died. And I was like, that was so goddamn satisfying. I can't even believe it. It's just so. And then when I so I'm like, all right, so I have this on Game Pass. You know, I get to play it for a month or whatever. And then I beat the second level, and it tells me I found 0 of 6 secrets. I found 0 of 1 skins for your Slayer, and I found 0 of 1 collectible toys. And I said, God damn it. I'm going to end up having to buy this game because I fucking love collectibles. I don't know why.
There's still a part of me that wants to go back and just try to find all the like hidden toys and stuff in Doom 4 and 5. When I played through Doom 4, I never found any of the classic levels. Like the little switches you pull that take you to like a level from Doom 1 or Doom 2.
I don't know if I did either.
Yeah, I don't know if they're like super well hidden or what, but I know that's a feature in Doom 2016 and I never found one.
Huh. Yeah, it might be worth going back and checking out then. But
I might replay Doom Eternal before I get around to Doom the Dark Ages, just because I don't know how long it'll take for us to get the computer set up.
But that is,
since you'll be setting it over a weekend and all that.
It is absolutely insane.
I'm looking forward to it. You're getting me more and more hype, and I was already pretty damn hype.
What I said in the chat earlier, and what I also said to Dane, was that I think Willie will cry and come at the same time. And
we call that a number 7.
Dane said, that's pretty high praise, man. I was like, dude, it's the best Doom game I think I've ever played. Now, by the end of it, I may hate it. You never know. But like, so what I've played so far, I can't foresee that. Like, it's just so good. And part of me is also just like, I am so happy that this brand new fucking game with ray tracing is not crashing. It's just so nice.
Well, maybe you're right. Maybe it is an Unreal Engine thing, because id Tech is a completely different engine. That is like straight up them rolling their own. So
Black Myth Wukong, Unreal Engine 5. Oblivion Remastered, Unreal Engine 5. Avowed, Unreal Engine 5. Indiana Jones, don't know. Think it's Unreal Engine 5.
I think so. I mean, it's... I'll
the only thing that isn't...
What's the full name of the game?
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle?
Yeah, that's right. That's fucked up. Indiana Jones runs on id Tech 7.
Well, then what the fuck? Why does it crash? And then, you know what, though? I'm going to try it without path tracing, because I really...
Yeah, because that's the Doom Eternal engine. It's the only notable game other than Doom Eternal that runs on that engine. And Doom Eternal, that's
ran
really
like
weird because Great Circle famously has a lot of like hang-ups and requirements, but Doom Eternal runs great. Like, it's one of the games that runs so amazing for what the requirements are, you know?
I mean, I say the same thing about this new one, the Dark Ages. Like, I can't believe how smooth it runs without DLSS, whereas Unreal Engine 5 games are like unplayable without DLSS, even on a 4090, because they just run at like 20 frames a second because it's so much going on. But yeah.
Man, can you imagine going back to It's 1999 all over again. Unreal Tournament and Quake 3 are out there competing in the arena shooter realm. And both of those engines will still be going to war 25 years later.
For real. It's pretty wild, dude. Like, some of those that have just been around for ages and ages and ages, I'm happy to see them still around, because a lot of them that kind of came and went, you know? So it's good. Other things that I've been playing, let me peruse my Steam real quick. Two other games that give me crashing issues for some reason. Portal with ray tracing and Half-Life 2 with ray tracing.
Okay, but those aren't Unreal. Those are Source games. That is really confusing.
Yeah, but they're also...
It's got to be NVIDIA.
They're mods. Yeah, I think it's an... I do think it's an issue. Well, it's... I say they're mods. They're official releases on Steam, but they're technically mods.
Are they running the game through a different engine, or are they just adding ray tracing support to
No, I
Source?
believe that they added it in Source. So I believe they're still running on a Source engine. So that's what makes me think that there's a hang up somewhere in the drivers for 40 series.
Yeah. It has to be that, because, again, Indiana Jones is id Tech, and those games are I can't... It has to be something with the ray tracing support in the NVIDIA drivers, because there's no way all three of those programs do things the same way.
Yeah, it absolutely. And I do want to say this, too, before we move on, because the opening cutscene of Avowed, at least at 4K on my screen, which was a cutscene rendered in Unreal Engine 5, was one of the most ridiculously pretty-looking things I've ever seen rendered in a video game ever.
Unreal Engine 5 is really incredible at realistic graphics. Like, what was did they do like that Matrix thing? Was it that was the Unreal Engine 5? That was just ridiculously good looking.
There's also been, like, people have made videos of, like, train stations and stuff that are really creepy as you're walking around them and things like that, and it looks straight up real, but it's Unreal Engine 5 with certain shaders on it. It's fucking insane.
I think that Kane Pixels, the guy that does those Backrooms videos, those are made in Unreal Engine, although I think he might have used 4.
I believe he did use 4, but even still, like, people who know what they're doing with those, just, it's insane.
Yeah, because those are, like, I would not have realized, like, I would have been like, how did he film this? Because it looks like it's really filmed on VHA strain and all that. It looks like a realistic place. The only thing that gives away that it's not real is just the fact that it's a physically impossible location. Yeah,
and I think some of the filters and stuff like that, I would assume probably come from Reshade.
Yeah,
using like post-processing type stuff, but
yeah, there's a lot of post-processing.
To use it effectively though is just chef's kiss. So good.
Yeah.
I did start on Higurashi Part 2. I'm not very far into it at all, but I did start on it. And I also started another visual novel series that kind of has like an RPG element to it that I read is considered by people, it's very polarizing. Either people love it or they fucking hate it. It's called the Rants series. Have you ever heard of it?
Rants.
Okay, so long story short, it's about a dude who was a piece of shit named Rants who gets these girls who are his slaves that he makes have sex with him and things like that, but he's also like the savior of the world. It's a very 90s Japanese thing, and I'm not going to lie, I played it for like an hour, and I don't think it's vibing with me, because the whole time I'm playing, I'm like, this main character is super unlikable. Like, he is a super douchebag.
Yeah. I mean, I know that sometimes having a douchebag main character works for games, but like, when Paul and Chandra were streaming Catherine, I really struggled watching that because the main dude in Catherine is such a piece of shit.
Yeah. And Rants takes that to another level. And I don't know if I'm on with it. So I may shelve that. Maybe check out one of the later Rants games, which usually have a bit better reception. So maybe the guy who made those matured as he made them or something. I don't really know. But Rants 1, seemingly, I don't know if it's going to be for me. I'm willing to go back and give it a little more. Just to, like, I'll try anything twice just to make sure I don't like it. So, but Higurashi, looking forward to getting into that. And I think the next one I'm going to dive into the Fruit of Grisaia. But
don't think I'm familiar with that, but all right.
It was on a list. So I've looked up like lists of the best visual novels that you can read and lists of like disturbing visual novels because I really like good books, but I also really like Higurashi and things like that. You know what I mean? They kind of give me the heebie-jeebies. So I was looking for a good medium of the two, and the 2 or 3 that kept coming up were The Fruit of Grisaia, Wonderful Every Day Down the Rabbit Hole. Excuse me, the 4 that kept coming up. Wonderful Every Day Down the Rabbit Hole, Fruit of Grisaia, or the Grisaia series, really. Higurashi and Umineko, which is Umineko's the sequel to Higurashi. Yeah. So it's like, all right, I own all of those. So, and then of course Steins Gate is another one that people...
I was going to say, this is the first time you've talked about edgy visual novels without bringing up Saya no Uta.
Yeah, I also have Saya no Uta. That was also one that came up a bunch.
That's one you were thinking about doing... That's one you've been thinking about doing for the show from time to time, so... I still have mixed feelings about that, but the fact that the writer did Madoka makes me want to give it a little bit more leeway than I ordinarily would from the description.
Yeah, and I know a little more about Saya no Uta now than I do, or than I did when I first was wanting to read it and things like that. I still want to read it, but... it creeps me out less knowing something that I know about the game, but it's a good not being as creeped out, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
If you can pick up what I'm putting down, yeah.
Right.
So that it makes it a little better. But yeah, there's a handful of them that I would like to get to, and Saya no Uta is another one that's on the disturbing lists, but people say it's actually a pretty good read. And then there's some like Euphoria, which I've heard is absolutely filthy. Gore screaming show, which I've heard is very gory.
You ever thought about doing one of the like death game type ones, like Virtue's Last Reward, or
I actually bought the other day. I bought the Nonary games.
Yeah, that's the series I'm in. I forgot what the first one was called, so I just said.
Is it 9?
999, right? 9 people, 9 doors, something, and then I think Virtue's Last Reward is the second one.
And then there's a third one too.
Yeah,
Zero Escape, the Nonary games. Let me see. Yeah, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors, and Virtue's Last Reward. And then the third one is Zero Time Dilemma.
Zero Time Dilemma. That's right.
So yeah, okay. I also have those, and then I acquired Danganronpa.
Okay.
Which is
that I do think that would be an interesting one too, because like that's kind of it isn't the first death game story by any means, but I think it's the one that got death game visual novels going in the West.
I could agree with that. I think that really rode the wave of that one movie coming out, Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale, and probably Hunger Games also. Yeah. But yeah, Battle Royale is probably the main one you're thinking of, because, man, that was a good movie.
Fucking wild. I remember watching the beginning of the Japanese one, and the teacher's just like, all right, you all have to kill yourselves. The last one wins. And then doesn't the teacher kill himself, or does he just leave? I can't remember. It was one of the two.
Something shocking happened. By the way, do you know that the teacher on that was played by the main guy from MXC? Like, you know how there's the two hosts?
Oh, what's his name?
Takeshi.
Yeah,
Takeshi,
that's right. Takeshi's Castle. Oh, man.
Yep, Takeshi Castle, exactly. Which became MXC, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It also was the guy responsible for, like, the most intentionally shitty Nintendo game.
I was about to say, didn't he make the video game that was horrible on purpose?
Yeah. I think it was called Takeshi's Challenge.
Wow, dude, that guy's like Japanese Andy Kaufman.
For real. Because, like, he started off as a comedian, but, like, he has a lot of serious props as a director and stuff, doing, like, very serious stuff.
It's kind of like, what's his face these days? Jordan Peele.
Oh, that is a great way of putting it. Because, yeah, later on, probably these days best known for horror films, even though when I think about, like, a lot of people probably think of him from Mad TV. I think about him from the Key and Peele show. So many great sketches in that show.
When Jordan would be Obama and then Michael Key would be his anger interpreter, was one of the funniest things I've ever played. I said, bitch, what are you doing? Just jumping up and down and shit.
Yes.
Or when they look around for their wife, I said, bitch. He's like, you called your wife a bitch? I did. He's like, and then they look around, make sure their wives aren't around and shit. I said, bitch. It's so good. Key and Peele, that was a great sketch show.
Yeah.
Although it did make me laugh when I was watching one of the Dave Chappelle stand-ups when he had first come back in, and he just goes, man, if people ask me if I go back and watch my show, it's like, no, I don't go back and watch my show. If I wanted to watch my show, I could turn on Comedy Central and watch Key and Peele do my show every week. I'm like, well, he's not far off. He's really not far off. But yeah, damn. Well, brother, we've been ranting a bunch about all kinds of stuff, but we have some obligatory Wikipedia bullshit.
Yes, indeed.
To get into about the game that we played this week, which was a little ditty called Undertale. Undertale is a 2015 role-playing game created by American indie developer Toby Fox. The player controls a child who has fallen into the underground, a large, secluded region under the surface of the earth, separated by a magical barrier. The player meets various monsters during their journey back to the surface, some of which may engage in combat. The combat systems involve the player navigating through a mini bullet hell You can choose to pacify or subdue, yada, yada, yada. All that other stuff we'll get into as we talk about the game. So, what made you pick this, Willie? And what was your first impressions of it?
What made me pick this is, we had just played an RPG for the show, and usually I wouldn't go to back-to-back RPGs, but the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct actually showed, like, a lot of new footage from Deltarune Chapters 3 and 4, which are coming out very soon. And apparently the full commercial release of Deltarune is coming out soon. And after I was looking at that, I'm like, man, I never finished Undertale. I got about halfway in and just never beat it. So I was like, it's one of those big elephant in the room type indie games. Like, it kind of changed the course of a genre in some ways, because you can definitely see the difference in indie RPGs that kind of want to be Earthbound before and after Undertale came out.
Yeah. All right. So what was your first impression with the game when you loaded it up back then?
Well, my actual first impression was I started watching someone do a stream of the demo back when the demo was new. So this was before the game had this huge following that it has today. Like, it was just the demo that was just the caves at the beginning of the game. And at the beginning, he said something along the lines of, this demo is only about 30 minutes long. If you think you might be even slightly interested in it, go play it yourself first. It's a free demo. So I did. And I played the demo, got to the end, wanted to change something I did, so I replayed the demo. And at about that point, I realized, oh, this is going to be a special game.
Okay. I know why, too. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so when you said you wanted to do Undertale, I was like, all right, cool. But here's the thing. I had never played Undertale on purpose. In the same vein that I've never played Earthbound more than for like 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. People have hyped up Undertale to me so much for so long that this is like one of the greatest gifts God has ever given to gaming, that I didn't want to taint it for myself if I didn't feel that same way. Does that make sense?
I feel the same way about Earthbound to this day, actually. Like, I have opened it up, played the first hour, thought, hey, this is pretty cool, I'll come back to it. And then went, man, I do want to play it, but I'm still kind of scared I won't love it as much as I'm supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those that I'm like, well, if I end up not liking this game, I'm going to get reamed for that. So I always avoided playing it.
See, I think that you could get away with hating the game. I think if you wanted to give it a 6 out of 10, that's when the shit would hit the fan. You know what I mean?
We'll see how the end of this episode goes. But when I loaded up and was playing it, I was immediately, the first thing I noticed was, okay, so this game's got a lot of like character writing. I can tell. The way Toriel handles that beginning area where like it's obviously, excuse me, I got the burps tonight. Ate some barbecue earlier. It's obviously a tutorial area she's leading you through, and then she ends up just doing stuff for you and leading you through, being like,
yeah, she literally grabs you by the hand because it's a hand-holding tutorial.
Yeah. And walks.
That's why her name's Toriel. It's great.
And walks you through. And I'm like, okay, so let's see where this goes. The music's really good.
That's got to be, I think, the first thing that jumps out to pretty much everyone is that the music absolutely whips.
And I just was like, all right, well, let's rip this Band-Aid off and just see what this game is all about. And that leads us to just chatting about the game. So I know you had some things that you wanted to touch on and things that you didn't want to touch on. So I'll let you sort of lead the discussion some if you'd like.
Oh, I'm absolutely interested to hear more of your earlier impressions of the game, because like I feel like before you, like when you're first getting started, it doesn't lead off with, well, it does have a lot of jokes in the opening area of the cave, but it's like the puzzles have the jokes in them. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a while before you reach funny characters, right?
I wouldn't say it takes a while. But yeah, there are like the things where she kind of just leads you through, and it's like, oh, you got to do this and this. And what struck me first was when she just takes you to the house, and she's like, all right, you just hang out here. And then she leaves. Part of me is like, I wonder if you just left your game idling in the house if she ever comes back. If it's like something, because, you know, like there's like in Far Cry 4, in the beginning, he tells you, wait here a moment, I'll be back. And you can literally leave your dude there, and he will eventually come back, and you get a secret ending. Mm-hmm. So I was curious if there was
It's one of the more hilarious, infamous endings in a game where you just choose not to play the game and it'll let you do it.
It's fantastic. And Far Cry is famous for that. You can do that in 5, too.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was something for that in this game, because there's a lot of weird little edge cases that they prepared for. Like little like things where there's just dialogue specifically for if you did really random actions.
Yeah, there are 90-something endings based on different things that Sans will say to you based on what you've done.
I think I think there are effectively 3 main endings, but yeah, there's so many variations of it.
I will say I killed Toriel. Didn't realize I didn't have to. So I, from the get-go, was logged into the neutral playthrough of the game.
So the first character you meet in the game is this like friendly maternal goat lady named Toriel who takes you through the puzzles like Dalton said. Basically, she's really doting and overbearing and wants to make sure you don't get hurt. And she, after a little while of her taking care of you, you find her in her basement walling up a door to try to make sure you don't get out into the world, because she says if you get out into the actual, monster kingdom or whatever, you will die, and I can't allow that. So if you want to get out there, you're going to have to go through me.
Yeah, and I went into this game with more knowledge than I should have, because it's just in the zeitgeist at this point. But so I went into this game knowing about the pacifist run. So I was like, okay, maybe you have to get past her and then not kill anything else, and that's how you get the past. No, I was wrong. You're supposed to not kill her, and I did, and I felt real fucking bad about it. The game made sure that I felt bad about it.
Yeah. So when I played the demo, the first time I went through, I did kill her, and then Flowey made me feel like a piece of shit for it. So I replayed the demo. And then that's when the game gets really interesting, because this time when you go through, Flowey's like, by the way, I know what you did last time.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Flowey seems a bit more sentient than you realize. He's like, I know what you did last summer. he's like,
yeah. Flowey's this little yellow flower who acts really, really nice, and he's obviously a horrible villain monster.
Yeah. He's like a smile, and then he says something kind of evil, and then his facial expression changes, and he becomes this grotesque-looking, evil, maniacal flower.
Yeah.
And he's a bastard, and that does not change.
No.
So you continue on, and so I felt bad because I killed Toriel, and I didn't even think to reload, because she had just told me, keep walking to the right, basically. Okay. So I just kept walking to the right.
Well, I don't know if I would have thought to reload the first time it happened if it wasn't. That's the end of the demo. So I was just like, well, I want to see what happens if I do it differently.
Okay.
So the demo is just the ruins. You don't get to Snowden.
Yeah, going through the next area where you meet Sans and Papyrus. They ended up being
Skeleton Brothers, the meme characters of the game. But
they were my favorites. They were my favorite characters in the.
They're awesome.
Sans with his stupid jokes, and Papyrus with just his. Who he reminded me of? Gaston.
Who's that? Yes, he has the same weird swaggery bravado, except you know he's an idiot.
Yeah, it reminded me like Gaston died, and this is his skeleton, and Sans is like the skeleton of oh shit, what's his name?
LeFou?
Phil from Hercules.
Oh,
just actually, little angry joke man. But yeah, I almost called him Gaston. Papyrus. Absolutely hilarious. Like he's like, I'm going to capture you for Andine, who is this big bad that you end up seeing a little bit later. But the more that you deal with Papyrus, and obviously, I'm sure you can kill him, but I didn't. I just kept running pacifist stuff. Like he just like starts to like you more and more, and you have to go through his first puzzle, and in the second puzzle, he helps you out, and then like he gets to this part where he's got like all of these killing machines aimed at you, and then he just realizes, no, this is no good. This is not, and he just takes them all away and he leaves. And it's like, that's the whole, and Sans is just standing there like, yep, that's Papyrus.
Papyrus's goal is he wants to be a member of the Royal Guard, and he thinks if he captures a human invader of the monster lands that he will finally prove to Undyne and to the king that he deserves to be part of the Royal Guard.
Yeah, but you tell him that you want to be his friend, and suddenly it just throws his entire plan into a whirlwind, because he's like, I can have a friend? And then he starts planning a date. What absolutely cracked me up was that you're talking about going on a date with him and all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you tell him you want to be friends. And he's like, wow, I got friend zoned before we even went on our first date.
Yeah, and he's so happy and about
he's thrilled.
He's the best, dude. I love that guy.
Fucking awesome. And then from that area, you make your way through that little town, which I loved the part where... So the Papyrus boss fight, if you're doing the pacifist run, you just have to let him beat you down to like 1 HP, and then he captures you and locks you, quote unquote, in his shed that has a lock on the inside.
Oh, you lost?
Yeah. So this is how I got past this part, right? So when you do the Papyrus fight, you can let him get you down to 1 HP, and then he takes you back to the shed that's locked when you try to go in it. It says this is locked from the inside. So you're just in there. And if you had checked that door before, it's locked from the inside, so you can just walk out and then immediately walk to the right and go back to that area. And Papyrus is like, how did you get free? No worries, you won't get free this time. So you do this 3 times. And finally, he just lets you go. Like, he's just like, all right, this isn't working.
I did not realize that was actually a route you could go. I simply beat him on my first try.
Oh, no, yeah. You just let him whip your ass 3 times, then he just lets you get by.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, because I feel like Sans would be happy if you let him capture you.
I
was like, I'm just going to avoid all of his attacks. I'm going to avoid all of his attacks, and I'm going to spare him, because that's how I roll. And I did.
do feel like at one point Sans...
And his final attack is hilarious.
I think Sans does, like, commend you for humoring his brother.
Yeah, he does. Like, if you tell him that you... at one point, they get into an argument where Sans says that the crossword puzzle is the hardest puzzle in the newspaper, and Papyrus insists it's the junior jumble. And if you agree with him, Sans says, oh, thanks for saying that, man. I'm sure he really appreciates you taking his side.
Yeah, because when I did that, I was like, oh, junior jumble, I would assume is way more difficult than a crossword.
I felt like Sans kind of has himself figured out, but Papyrus needed somebody to kind of, tell him what's up.
Yeah. So the next area is like a waterfall-y-esque type area.
Oh yeah, it's I forgot about the waterfall. Yeah, the waterfall's the next
and this area is a lot of having to deal with Undyne.
Undyne.
I keep thinking Anodyne because that's a fucking Fear Factory song. Anodized, excuse me. But yeah, Undyne. And when I first see Undyne, I'm like, oh, because Papyrus is talking to them. And you don't hear Undyne talk, you just hear Papyrus' side of the story, but Undyne is much bigger than Papyrus.
Yeah, in some kind of horrible knight armor looking extremely huge and scary.
So there are sects of this where Undyne will show up on a parallaxed area in the background and start firing attacks at you, and you have to avoid them. And you end up making your way through... I don't remember too much. I beat this like a week ago, so apologies that my brain's a little foggy on it. But like, you make your way through, and you end up getting to this area where Undyne is literally chasing you. Now, how did you handle this? Or is there only one way? Oh, I know there's 2 ways, but
chasing you into the Hotlands,
yeah.
or
yeah,
I think I did the same thing you did. I eventually got to the water cooler. She collapses, and I gave her water.
So her battle, you just have to survive long enough until you can flee, and then you run a little bit, and that. The one scene.
Also, her fight theme is awesome, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Like da 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 da.
And while you're running from her, at one point, your character just stops and your phone starts ringing because you have a cell phone, and it's Papyrus calling
that's
you.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, this is not the best fucking time, bro. But luckily, she doesn't get any closer to you while you're talking to him. But yeah, so
thanks turn-based RPG logic.
So you end up getting to the end of this bridge, and she comes chasing after you, and she just falls because she's in a giant suit of armor chasing you through like all kinds of, and now you're in the hotlands where it's like everything is super hot, and there just happens to be a water cooler right there,
just sitting next to the edge of like the end of this island above lava.
Yeah, it's just a water cooler. So you go over and you grab some water and you take it over to her and you give her the water, and she stands up and she just looks at you and then turns around and walks away and doesn't say anything. Now,
yeah,
here's where I want you to, because you did this, I think, and I didn't. You can go to Undyne's house. Mm-hmm. I never found it. I apparently walked right fucking by it, but I never found it.
Yeah, it's literally one screen over from the screen where Napstabluke, the ghost DJ, lives.
So when you go to her house, I do believe, you get to have dinner with her or something?
Yeah, so there's a scene where basically Papyrus insists you, Undyne, and he and Undyne should be friends. And so he kind of like, Undyne is over there steaming too, because she's still kind of pissed off that you beat her, right? But she's acting very polite because you're a guest at her house. And Papyrus leaves, or he fakes an emergency and jumps out the window because he's Papyrus. And so you're left alone with Undyne, and you guys are obviously not getting along. She's kind of like threatening you. And Papyrus just kind of sticks his head back in and says, yeah, I knew you wouldn't be able to handle this challenge to be friends. And Undyne's just immediately like, challenge? And the moment she thinks of it is like, don't tell me who I can and can't be friends with. In fact, we're going to be besties. And then she starts trying to teach you how to cook like she taught Papyrus how to cook, which means you end up burning her house down.
That is fucking fantastic.
It's an amazing scene. It's really funny.
Damn, I'm sad I missed that.
It's good shit. It's good shit. I was, by the way, absolutely sure that, like, I thought that you were more likely to have killed Undyne than anyone else. I thought you may or may not have with Toriel, but I thought you would definitely kill her because she's difficult to deal with.
At that point, I had told myself I was going to do the pacifist run. Nope.
I was trying to figure out why you sent me screenshots. I saw you were level 5, and what I thought you had done, because I don't know how much experience you get for fights, because I didn't do any, but what I thought you were doing was something I also remember doing at one point, or at least I've seen someone do, which is killing the mook enemies, but sparing the named characters.
No, I got all that experience from killing Toriel.
Wow.
And did not gain any more throughout the rest of the game.
Well, that's pretty good. That also means that like you kind of got the worst of both worlds because you didn't get like the extra experience points for hit points you would have gained from getting experience and all that.
Nope. Yeah, I got the true neutral ending.
Hey, but to do the true pacifist ending, I mean, you had to do it all with level 1, so I had even fewer hit points than you, man. Shit, you had to struggle a little bit.
For sure. So you end up after that in the Hotlands, which in my opinion had the best song in the entire game other than... actually, I think I might like the Hotland song better than I like Sans' song.
Okay, fair enough.
It's just such a banger. Like Fenris had asked me recently to send him some good game music so he can add it to a playlist. I ended up sending him the Hotland song.
Yeah. Oh, that one was really good, actually.
It's just so catchy. It's so good.
Yeah, because I feel like the music in Waterfall was kind of melancholy, and then Hotlands kind of had a beat to it.
Yeah, it just picked up, and it was just like, okay, I can jam to this. And it's... I'm trying to remember who you end up having to deal with in the Hotlands.
Mediton and Alphys, I think.
That's right.
You have to go through the lab. And
here's the part of the game that annoyed the shit out of me the most. Okay. That goddamn scientist.
Yeah, Dr.
Oh
Alphys.
my god. The fuck, every 3 steps is a pop-up with him talking because he installs like the in-universe version of Twitter onto your phone. And I guess enabled fucking all notifications for his profile because every single step it's like he's posting and like he's be like, I need to call them, and he's like, do you remember in high school when you'd really like a girl and you wanted to call her but you were super nervous about it?
Oh man, because you didn't get to see all of the endings and stuff, she's like that about almost every character in the game.
Like, oh man, oh yeah, I saw her have interactions with a couple different characters and it was all kind of the same gist, but man, it just like was like, all right, I get it. At a certain point, I was like, okay, I get it. Enough with these. I'm trying to move forward here. Like, shut the fuck up.
For me, it kind of became like that Family Guy joke where he hits his knee. And
eventually, it got to that point.
Yeah.
I will agree because it went on long enough that eventually it did become like that. And so maybe I had the same run of gamuts that I do with one of those Family Guy jokes where it's like, it's funny. Then it's like, all right, when is this going to be over? And then it loops back around to being funny again because it's absurd at that point.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Because like I feel like we're hitting some plot beats here, but what we're not really expressing is just how goddamn funny the game's writing is.
It is quite. This was an entertaining romp. Absolutely. I loved the Megaton stuff or Megaton stuff.
Oh yeah, Megaton. Yeah,
Megaton's Fallout 3. Megaton.
Yes. That's okay. I kept calling him Metatron for some reason. So
absolutely cracked me up. Anytime when I was going through the Hotlands that I would end up in a room that was completely black, I was like, all right, here we go. And then spotlight, and there's Megaton, and now we're on a different game show. Because like the doctor just explained, or the scientist, I'm going to call him a doctor. They explain they created this machine because things kind of got boring around here, so they wanted to be entertaining. So they created this machine that would entertain people. But they might have done some little changes to him that may have made him a human hunting, killing, murder machine.
Yes. But he's a human hunting killer machine that really wants to put on a really good television show.
Yeah. So what you end up with are these game shows that you have to win or die.
Yeah.
And it's just silly. And I adored it. It cracked me up.
It's very good. It's very good. Like Megaton, I felt like Undyne was legitimately intimidating. Megaton, on the other hand, I was just like happy to see him again every time he showed up.
Like, all right, I know your boss fight's probably going to be annoying as shit, but let's do it because you're entertaining. Yeah. And we can touch on the battle mechanics a little bit after we kind of run through this stuff. But like, so after,
I do feel like that's a good idea.
After you run through and you finally defeat Megaton, he turns into his real self, which is like gothic Ziggy Stardust. Yeah. He actually reminded me of Pokemon Sword and Shield, the bad guys, like the little punk dudes that would like have like little kiss face paint, and they were like the bad guys. Yeah. That's what he kind of reminded me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he was very glam.
Yes, very.
Like when you said Ziggy Stardust, that was a really good.
There's a a certain member of Kiss I'm trying to think of. The one with the star over the eye. Paul Stanley. He gave me a Paul Stanley meets Ziggy Stardust vibe for sure. But yeah, you go through that, you beat him, and I didn't quite get it because it was like he was talking about how he wanted to keep entertaining people and everything, but then he told everyone this was his final sign-off, and then he exploded. I was like, well, hold on. I thought he was just saying that he was going to continue on. I don't know. It lost me a little bit there at the end.
I think that unless something very different happened in your game than mine, he shouldn't have exploded. He should have run out of batteries.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's what happened. Because the scientist comes up afterwards and says, "Oh no, blah blah." Oh, never mind. His battery just ran out. Okay. So I don't know what I'm remembering that blew up. Oh, I think it was when I killed Toriel. She disapparated into nothing.
The video game, the Final Fantasy VI boss fading.
Yeah, pixelation, just like Thanos snapped his finger. They're disappearing.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it's very very much like the Thanos snap effect.
And then in the last little area. I don't think the last little area was very memorable to me because I don't remember much about it. I just remember getting to Asgore.
Yeah.
And having to talk with him.
The core the power core once you get past the Hotlands. Yeah. It's basically just, it's basically you finished the last major area. Now you're just trying to get there. There wasn't I don't think there was a persistent following you around type thing going on there.
No.
Whereas every other area had its own kind of nemesis, whereas in that one it was more along the lines of you're just trying to reach Asgore.
Yeah, I think we skipped over it because it happened earlier in the game, but I did like the part where you drop down and you're walking around and there's like trash everywhere, and you go up and you look at the fighting dummy, and it's like just an ordinary fighting dummy. Do you want to attack it? And I said no, and it's like you both stare at each other for a while, and then you walk off, and then that thing fucking attacks you. Because it's possessed by a ghost, and that's when Ghost DJ comes and clears him away.
Yes.
And it's like, that's when he invites you to his house. And then I went to his house. He's like, I didn't actually expect you to show up. Welcome. There's my TV.
Yeah. Did you try turning on different tracks and then talking to Napster? They have a different little commentary on how each of the little songs at the bottom of the screen make them feel.
Oh, man. I wish I'd have known that, because I did switch between some tracks while I was standing in there, but I never went back over and talked to him again.
There's a lot of easy to miss dialogue in the game. There's a ton of stuff there's a good chance I could replay it and still not see everything. Especially because I don't want to do the other route.
Yeah, the genocide.
Yeah.
Slay everybody.
The problem is I like these people. They're my friends now.
Yeah, and the meta part of the game knows that. This game's got a lot going on in the background that you wouldn't expect. So you get to that final boss, you're fighting Asgore, or if you're me and Willie, avoiding his attacks. Now I think you have to attack him to a certain point, right?
I don't necessarily want to give away the solution, but
yeah. So anyway,
if you're fighting,
you deal with Asgore and you spare him, or he spares you, one of the two, and he goes, and all of a sudden, you think the fight's over and everything's fine, and then he just gets killed, and Flowey pops in. And turns out Flowey is the actual final boss of the neutral playthrough. And then you have to go into his fight. And Jesus Christ, if this fight did not have checkpoints, I would have not beaten it. And I would have shit all over this. Straight up.
It's a way too epic fight almost. It is very anime final boss.
Yeah, there's so much going on, and some of his attacks are almost impossible to fucking avoid, in my opinion. There are people who are much better at this than me, but
I struggled to avoid certain attack patterns too. There was the one where it had attacks that came from the bottom left and the bottom right and then the bottom left or whatever, and I couldn't figure out how to dodge all three. I could get hit by one.
What started fucking me up is I would avoid his vine attack that he shot at you, and then he would load the game, because he has the ability to load and save too, and he would load the game where I'm still over there, and I would get hit, and I'm like, you cheating motherfucker. So you have to last long enough that there are as many rounds as there are these hearts that they have collected, because they need 7 hearts and they have 6 of them, so 6 rounds. And then all the hearts combine at the end, and you end up taking down Flowey, or you can spare him. And I kept hitting spare, and he kept being like, why? He basically was like, fucking kill me. Just do it. Just kill me. And I spared him. And then he fucked off. And that was the end. Was the end of the game, if I remember correctly. At that point, I was just like, well, damn. I didn't get either of the the things I was looking for. Shit. But it is what it is. I did it to myself.
Well, I mean, at this point, the fights and stuff. If you wanted to replay it, it probably would take you half as long.
That's very true. As I was playing through, I was thinking, I wonder what people speed running this do.
That's a great question. I'm actually not familiar. I want to take a look what the record is.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I bet it's like an hour or something stupid like that. It probably less than that.
Actually, it is about an hour. Yeah, the neutral ending is 51 minutes. Pacifist is 1 hour 21, and genocide is 1 hour and 3.
God, that's so fast. I don't know. You got 2 different endings, so I'd like to hear more about like what you thought of the different routes that you did.
Okay, so it's because of the way the pacifist ending works. You sort of pretty much have to get a neutral ending first and then continue to get the pacifist ending.
That makes sense because at the end of the game, Flowey kind of pops in and is like, "There's other ways to do this," and kind of hints at there are other routes. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, but if you do basically everything pacifist, but you don't get the ending, but you did everything pacifist, you can basically pick up from that point, move forward, and go in. Basically, you end up going into Dr. Alphys's lab and learning a lot more backstory as to what was going on, and then you can use that information to get the true ending.
Oh, okay. So battle mechanics.
Okay, yeah, this is an interesting hybrid gameplay style.
It grew on me a little bit, but I mean a little bit. There were certain...
Did you find it, like, super duper clunky when you were in the ruins?
Yes.
I really struggled for a while until I had a couple boss fights under my belt. I was like, everything just seemed to move at the wrong speeds.
Yeah, and I wondered if maybe that was some input lag or something. I don't really know, but it was rough at the start. As I got more into it, it became easier. But I wouldn't say that it ever became like one of my top 10 or even top 20 fighting mechanic that I've done in a game. It felt like it was there to serve a purpose. It wasn't there to be a mechanic of the game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like for boss fights, it made a lot of mechanical sense. But I almost feel like the attack patterns were almost there more to set up like jokes and stuff for the minor mooks, you know?
100%. Because like a lot of those were like more so, especially for the pacifist route, of you figuring out what to say to them in what order, and then just having to avoid their attacks.
Yeah. So that's also kind of the main conceit of the game. I know we already talked about making decisions and stuff, but the main idea is there's a fight button, an act button, and a mercy button. And basically, if you fight things, you'll kill them, you'll gain experience points, you'll get stronger and all that. If you want to spare them, you have to figure out what actions you have to take to basically get them dissuaded from fighting.
Yeah. You do learn at the end of the game what EXP and levels actually are. It's not exactly what you're thinking. I don't remember what EXP is, so I'll leave that to your imagination. But I do remember that LV was level of violence.
Yep.
And it was like, oh, okay.
And EXP was execution
Thank
points.
you. That's what it was. I remember it was something points, and I couldn't remember. I'm like... my brain kept saying extermination. I'm like, that's not right. It's not extermination. Anyway, yeah, execution points and your level of violence. And so you learn at the end of that like, oh, it's not a good thing. And I feel like the whole thing is like a meta context on how people normally play video games, where it's like, for example, I looked at this as this guy played Skyrim every which way he could. And he was Flowey in that situation where he had gone through and he played Skyrim as pacifist as possible. He went through Skyrim and killed every NPC that he could just because he could. And that's the thing, is like when you do things in a video game, you do that because you can, because you have this suspension of disbelief that you can run with and put yourself in the world. But when that suspension of disbelief on your second or third playthrough starts to fade away, now you're just a dude playing a video game and you realize you're playing a video game. You're no longer invested in the story and in the characters. Then you start being like, what if? And that's, I think, what a lot of the context and meta going on in this game was commentary on that and the way gamers are. Because even that fucking scene that you talked about that you saw in the demo, where you kill Toriel and then you reload, and instead of going back in and seeing Toriel, you see Flowey, who decides to be like, oh, I know what you did last time. And there's no going back from it, kind of thing. And that's intense, because how many times in Skyrim have you been like,
I'll just quick load, then I'll kill Nazim.
100% what I was about to say is kill Nazim and then just quick load like it never happened. Undertale says, fuck you, you can't do that in this game. And I liked that. That's a cool mechanic. It's kind of like in Final Fantasy, when you make your way up the Tonberry Tower to try to get Odin and the Tonberry King. When you finally get to the Tonberry King, he has that move that hits you and the more enemies that you've killed in the game, it does more damage to you. Or it might be
cool.
the more tomberries you've killed, but it's one of the two. And
yeah.
Bro, you want to talk about if you spend some time farming some tomberries for some experience, and then you try to go fight him and he hits your characters for like 99,000? There's no surviving it. He's one-shotting everybody. And that's another... I could totally see this game having a mechanic like that. And it kind of does. Or if you go through and kill everybody, you end up having to fight Sans, who is notoriously the toughest boss fight in this game by far. Like, here's some things I knew going into this beforehand. There are 3 different routes you can take. You only get to fight Sans, and the worst route that you can take is boss fight is hard as shit, and the theme for it goes hard as fuck.
Yeah. It's funny, too, because, like, if you only know a few things about the game, Sans is, like, the meme joke character who mainly just sits around and makes puns and slacks off from work. So when he does eventually reveal a little of his power, which he does in the normal route, too, like, there are some moments where he says some stuff, and you're like, oh, shit, this guy is a lot more than he likes to let on.
100%. If I had to characterize, I think Flowey is the devil on a gamer's shoulder, and Sans is the angel on a gamer's shoulder.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of looked at it after I had pieced everything together. Because I, full disclosure, when I beat this game and got the neutral ending, I did go watch a video that talked about the other 2 endings and things like that, because I wanted to be somewhat informed.
Yep.
And yeah, there's a lot more to this game than you would give it credit for just being a little indie darling. That being said...
Yeah, I'm glad you did watch those 2, just because there's a lot more story in the pacifist ending especially. And I'm thinking there might be in the genocide ending too. I just don't know if I have it in me to go ahead and do it.
There is a good amount in the genocide ending as well. That being said, I think this game would have had a bigger impact on me had I played it before it became part of the zeitgeist.
Yeah, I completely understand that. I think I'm a little lucky that when I hit the demo was before this game was that huge. And like, even then I felt a little bit scared catching up to it now, just because it's like, I had 10 years to catch up to this game and I still haven't finished it. I hope I haven't missed something.
Yeah. And I mean no offense to the game, but as a game that is one of those types of games, I did enjoy this more than I enjoyed Outer Wilds.
Okay.
But I don't remember what I rated that, so don't take rating comparisons between the 2 of them into anything. And again, like I said, that's not taking away.
We give numerical scores to games. That means that we are rating it in class, in family, and in a lot of other ways too, with lots of weird limitations. And our numbers mean nothing because we're just a couple of jagoffs on the internet.
Yeah, that's.
Don't at me unless I say that Chrono Trigger's a 7. Then
we're the whose line is it anyway of game rating. Points don't matter. But again, that's not taking.
That's why we give them a. That's why we give them a scale every week, because technically speaking, 9 Doom Guys out of 10 Cyber Demons isn't the same as 9 Dr. Peppers out of 10 Coca-Colas.
That is very true. I'm not taking anything away from Outer Wilds. I do think that was a good game, just wasn't for me.
Understand.
But I did enjoy this more.
Okay. So
is there anything else that you want to touch on?
No, I think we did a great job of covering most of the main plot points. The general vibes of the game. I do want to bring up something about the music real quick, which is just, not only did we mention that the music is incredible, but one of the reasons the music is so good is that it uses like themes and motifs for each of the characters and for each of the things that happen in it. So there's like the boss fight theme, like when you fight the Mad Dummy versus when you fight Muffet the Spider. Both of them have the melody like but like in the Mad Dummy one, it's like got a kind of a swing jazz feel to it, whereas in the Spider Dance version, it's like this really up tempo and frantic song. And like they do a lot of reusing individual motifs for different parts of the game.
I'm glad you brought up the spider.
Mm-hmm.
How did you handle that fight? I didn't have to fight her.
Oh my god, Okay, so I streamed some of this game when I was playing it to a friend who told me after the fight how I could have avoided the fight.
Earlier in the game, I had randomly come across a spider bake sale. And
made by spiders for spiders, of spiders.
And the items were expensive, but I just happened to have a decent little bit of gold. And I bought one. And I ended up using it to heal myself in a fight or something like that. When I got to that fight with the spider, we're like going through it, and suddenly she just gets a message from the other spiders that tell her that I had bought a baked good. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I was chill and they all went away. And I'm like, all right. All right. I was expecting something and it was just like, no, you're good. I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. Me buying that expensive item fucking paid off. Cool. Like usually in games, it doesn't. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, and I think that's cool too. Is there's a lot of things where there's more than one solution to things, and I think that's neat.
I do want to touch on one of the that was a joke in a puzzle. It was Papyrus when he goes through the painstaking detail of telling you about that puzzle that he set up, where each of the colors does something different, and you have to make your way through. And then it goes through all its randomization, and the only ones that you can walk on are pink. And then when it's done randomizing, there's just a straight pink line through the middle of it. So I didn't commit anything that he said to memory.
Yeah, I completely got by this one too.
And later on in the game, you end up in a spot where you have to remember what the fuck he said because you run into one of those traps that's not going to just let you across. And boy, let me tell you, that part fucked me up. Damn it, man. But no, yeah.
That's a good goof.
Yeah, there are a lot of good goofs in this game. This is a goofy game, and I will give it that.
Yeah.
What would you like to give this as a rating, my good sir?
Man, I feel like rating this is kind of difficult just because, again, like we said, this game has had 10 years to basically become half the memes on the internet. I will say that after I finished, I immediately went and downloaded the Deltarune demo. I probably am going to pick right back up and keep on playing the series.
It did make me interested in trying Deltarune because Deltarune is like right there with Silk Song, where it's like I've heard people talking about it for so long now.
I mean, it's coming though. The thing, I mean, both of them are coming, but like the thing is, you can actually play 2 chapters of Deltarune right now out of 7, and each one is basically a complete game. So, at least that's my understanding. At least like a complete game in the same sense as Undertale was. So it's a little hard to rate this game because it's been around for a long time and it's kind of already everyone understands a little bit about it at least. But I would say that for me personally, what I really wanted out of it was I wasn't as worried about the combat system, and I do think that the combat system does deliver in boss fights, and mostly doesn't outside of that, except for to set up jokes and stuff. I think the jokes are funny. I think the game's writing is good, really good actually, especially because it does that same thing that Yakuza does, where it uses humor to set up more emotional beats later on in the game. And I think the music is singular. Like, I genuinely think that even in the proud tradition of RPGs having incredible music, this one deserves special mention. I don't really know what scale to rate it on the grounds that 7-hour-long bullet hell RPG is not a genre. But if I had to give it a score, I think in the end I'd give it 9 spider donuts out of 10 spider ciders.
Okay, I think that's fair. So I liked it. I didn't absolutely love it,
right?
But I did enjoy my time with it. I don't regret having played it. Like maybe I regret playing some of the games that we've done for this show. Blair Witch, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
There were things about it I really enjoyed. There were things about it that annoyed me. We touched on that kind of stuff. The music, fantastic. So that bumps it up a little for me because I'm a fucking music head. But I don't know if this game could have possibly ever lived up to the hype that has been built around it in pop culture over the years. So I'm going to give it a strong, now like, again, don't compare this to other ratings. This is something, I'm giving it a strong 7.75 sans out of 10 Papyrus. With the caveat that if I go back and get another ending, I may bump it up to an 8 or an 8.5, just depending. But I don't see this game ever getting to that high level for me. And that is just a simple fact of it's not that style of game that I normally go to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. It isn't built to be one of your favorite games, but it's a game you had a good time with.
Exactly. So yeah, Undertale, the indie darling. I don't think it ever could have lived up to the hype for me. But that being said, had I played this before the hype, I probably would have, it would have easily probably been an 8.5 at least for me. So I'll leave it at that, 7.75.
If only we were hanging out 10 years ago and I would have sent you the demo the same time I played it, man.
Right. So we did have at least one question.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see. Actually, I think we missed questions last time. So we got 1, 2, 3. Oh, we got a few. Okay. Fenris. You find a suitcase with $750,000 in 100s in a bush next to the freeway. You can tell it's been there at least a year. How do you integrate this in your life without raising any red flags? Fenris said...
What, I mean, like, claim the money without getting audited or getting caught?
Yeah,
basically?
so Fenris said, an example, for him, every 6 months, he'd put 1,000 of it into a CD.
That's tricky. You're basically asking us for advice on money laundering.
I think it's in hundreds. I'm just going to Tony Soprano that shit. I'm going to take a big bag of it and I'm going to stick it in the closet. I'm going to take a big bag of it and I'm going to stick it up in a air duct that's not real. I'm going to put some under my duck feed. Like, I'm just going to I'm not putting that shit anywhere in the bank. That is going to stay paper money and it is going to stay well hidden. And I'm going to pull it out and use it when necessary, but never I'm not going to pull out, $20,000 and just go do something that's going to draw a red flag. No, I'm just going to, that would be, I'm set. I'm going to go get a part-time job and live somewhat comfortably.
Yeah, I'm thinking my plan would be really basic and not an efficient way to handle it at all, but probably just take those hundreds and every now and then just pull out a single 100, take it to a gas station somewhere in town, be like, hey, can you break this? And, just use a little at a time.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what you could do with it is you could take $750,000 and go buy 750. Now, hear me out on this. They might be marked bills, right? So you take them.
Yeah, right.
You go buy $750,000 worth of cocaine. You then take that and sell that to someone else, maybe if you want to get it wholesale. And maybe you make back... So you...
Wholesale, like from Costco?
You found this money, so it's easy come, easy go, right? So you buy $750,000 worth of cocaine. You go up to some dealer and you say, hey, I have $750,000 worth of cocaine. I'll sell it to you for $700,000 cash. They then hand you $700,000 cash. It's dirty money, but it ain't marked bills.
I feel like you're trading one risk for two risks here,
dude,
man.
It's a scheme here. We're making a movie, right? We're being like the dude from Blow. We're Johnny Depp in this shit right now. So you have $750,000 in cash that you still have to launder somehow, but it's no longer marked bills.
I feel like you've barely helped our case at all.
But it sounded cool. Anyway, that's how I would do it, Finn.
It sounded like a great way to get arrested. It sounded like a great way to look like a cop and get shot.
Oh my God, he's a cop! Oh my God. All right, so this next one comes in from Adam. Best movement / traversal in a video game, despite Jeff, The Witcher 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Best movement, overall movement. You know what, man? This is going to be a weird answer because this can't be the correct answer, and I'll probably think of a million better answers off the top of my head later. But as far as games that felt really, really good just to navigate around to the point where I didn't even use the fast travel system, Marvel Spider-Man, man.
Honestly, I was going to toss it up between Spider-Man and more recent Assassin's Creed games. Mm-hmm. The ability to just parkour climb stuff in the Assassin's Creed games has gotten so fucking smooth. And then you take that and add web slinging to it in Spider-Man.
And your chances of winning drastically go down.
And then Dr. Ock comes and he's fat.
He's got 8 arms, 12.5% chance of each arm coming at you.
And Rhino's there, but we know he's not even going to try. So you had me and Doc Ock, and you got 126% chance of Peter Parker coming out on top.
At Sinister 6. My partner will shock the world because he is the shocker.
Oh, man. No, Spider-Man, great shout, dude, because that game's... Yeah. What's funny is that a few things happened. I know we talked about this when we did the game for the show, but a few things happened between the PS4 version and then the re-release for PS5. They switched Peter Parker for one. So it's a completely different rendered actor. It's just very strange, right? Yes. 2, loading got so fast. So on the PS4, when you fast traveled, there would be a whole cutscene of Spider-Man in his suit sitting on the subway. And he'd either be playing a game on his phone or an old lady would be asleep with their head on Spider-Man while he's sitting on the subway. But nowadays, everything loads so fast that you would hit fast travel and it would show Spider-Man in a subway car for a split fucking second and then boom, and then you'd be where you're going. So those cutscenes they made are just no longer necessary because of how fast things load now.
Yeah.
All right, so our next question, what is a boss that you... this comes in from Adam as well. What is a boss that you had to kill but wish you didn't have to?
In this game?
I think just in general.
Oh, man, that's a good question. There are definitely a lot of it had to be this way type of moments in games where it's did it really though?
Yeah, I'm going to use the example that I use a mod to avoid. In Skyrim, there's a mod called the Parthenax Dilemma.
Oh, that's right.
Because in order to get an ending, you either have to join the Blades and kill Parthenax or spare Parthenax and be banned from the Blades forever. Why not both? Why not spare him and be able to join the Blades? Because he's obviously not an evil dragon, but they say that all dragons are evil. So it's kind of a cop-out answer because that's a popular one, but that is definitely the one that always comes to mind when I think of about a boss that I don't want to kill. Willie wants to let the icon of sin run free in a frolic in a
no, that's a bad
frolic in a field of flowers.
Answer. That's a bad answer. He's just gonna step on you.
Step on me, icon of sin, mommy. Ooh woo.
Man, I'm actually really blanking. I swear I had like 100 ideas running in my head, and none of them are coming to me now. I don't know. I feel like there's this whole kind of games where you feel bad about the final boss, but you have to do it, and I just can't name one off the top of my head.
You were supposed to be the chosen one.
I don't know. I'm kind of sleepy. I don't got one for this.
We can move on. We're almost there. If you could, this comes from Adam as well. If you could create a sequel to Undertale, what would you change gameplay-wise, and where would you go plot-wise?
I would probably make it use a three people in a party battle system. I'm just describing Deltarune. There's already kind of a sequel. It's Deltarune.
If I was going to do a sequel to Undertale, I think I would make it more about the dialogue, less about the battle mechanics.
You would change it to a visual novel, basically. Actually, that's not a
visual
bad idea,
novel with a little more interaction than some of the sound novel that we played. But
so any interaction then.
I actually liked the way that Rants game that I was talking about earlier handled the combat. It's not great, but it's cool. So I could see that working in a way with like something that's good. But I wanted to focus more on the storytelling in Undertale because I think that's where it shined.
Yeah, give it more room to make goofs and jokes and play great music.
And as far as plot-wise, I mean, let's go straight Doom 2 on it. The monsters are up on the surface and everything's going fine, but then something bad happens and shit goes haywire.
Yeah, a lot of ways you could handle that, and I think that, like, I'm very interested in seeing the monsters on the surface story, because that's a hell of a cliffhanger.
This next comes in from Dane, and this is the last question. Assuming that you didn't, and he's correct, could you ever bring yourself to do a full genocide run in Undertale?
I would really have to brace myself for it, man. I would really have to work up to it, because, like I said, I really found myself getting quite attached to all these characters, and I'd had to bring myself into it's just a game mode, which currently I'm maybe a little too attached to do, you know?
I think that I could run through and do a genocide run if I did it before I ran a pacifist run. Get it out of the way before I go through and so I don't know if I could do it now because I tried a pacifist run. I failed at it, but I tried. But yeah, so that is it for this episode. Let me pull up the stuff for the end. But before that, we have what we're doing next week. So we're going to, at least for the time being, we're going to run it back to the way things kind of were back in the day. We're going to run weekly for a little bit. Of course, with the new job that Willie got, if things change, then we'll go back to bi-weekly, and that's okay. But we're going to do weekly, and for longer games, we're going to bust them into parts. Short game polls will still be there, so we'll do like opening thoughts, short game, part 2, or whatever, we can go into it after that. But our game next week should be a lot of fun. It's going to be the poll winner, which is Jurassic World Evolution.
This is a theme park management game, kind of in the style of like a 2 Point Hospital or a Zoo Tycoon.
Yep. Yes, sir. It's like if you ever, back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, if you had a PlayStation 2 or an Xbox and you had Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, it is very much like that. Also, if you played like Planet Zoo, think that, but with dinosaurs. Really cool. I look forward to us playing Jurassic World Evolution 1, but the day that we play Jurassic World Evolution 2 is going to be a step up because that's where they added aquatic dinosaurs. And those are real cool. Those are real cool.
Megalodon.
Yeah, you can do Megalodons. They're in that. But yeah, so if you want to join the Discord and such, where all the good shenanigans happen, that is bit.ly/TSMP Discord. All capital letters. That'll get you invited in, and you can come and vote on the polls. Like I said, Jurassic World Evolution 1, not the last one, but it is the last winner, the next winner that we're playing. The current poll up right now, I don't even need to tell anybody what it is because there's only one game. This list is a banger of games, and there's only one game on it that's going to win, right? So we got Grand Theft Auto 3, Sudeki, Unreal Tournament 3 Black Edition, Super Mega Baseball 4, and then the one that the only description I gave for it in the description was, and then there is fire, Dark Souls Remastered, which has all but one vote so far. Old Lone Jeff voted for Unreal Tournament 3, but Dark Souls is winning. Dark Souls is probably going to win. Dane will be here for Dark Souls We're trying to rope in a fourth that will leave as a surprise for now because it hasn't been confirmed. So don't want to put any pressure, but there is a fourth possibly joining for that. Dark Souls Remastered. If that wins, I'm going to say when it wins because it's not going to lose. Dane has already threatened the entire Discord that if Dark Souls loses, he will post nudes. And ain't nobody want to see that, according to Dane. So, you know, check out the website, bit.ly/the Steam Machine Podcast, kept up to date by Dane. Patreon, you want to donate to the show, really means a lot, especially right now while I'm looking for a job. It helps out a lot with keeping the lights on around here. Patreon.com/the Steam Machine Podcast. $1 or more a month gets you the episodes early and ad-free with the extra Patreon banter in the beginning just for our patron sections. And if you donate $10 or more, you get your name read on each and every episode like these wonderful people. Nate Sir Cogsworth, the 7th of June-iper, Jeff, the original Expendable, Mr. Syllables, Old Jeffy Lube, also he's a duck and has bad taste in video games. Ariesoradam, shout out to his podcast with Fenny, Spectre approved. TeamRetrogue, go check him out over on YouTube. Mr. Puzzles, Dane himself, Flyin Brian, Doran Gray, the RPG Wolverine, Logan Joreid. Thank you all very, very much. You are very, very much appreciated. You like the music for the show, go check me out on nowthenightmare.bandcamp.com. You want a shirt to support the show, tsmpproductions.threadless.com. Go check out the JRPG Report. Go check out Grumpy Jeff's Pro Wrestling Power Hour. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. That's a good way to support the show. Willie, is there anything else that you would like to say to these people before we come back in a week with some dino talk?
Nope.
Until next time, everybody, take it easy.